This is Channel 9 News on this great Wednesday afternoon. I'm Justin Sherman. There are a lot of people nowadays who encounter the words fossil fuels. What does this mean? We have our environmental expert today with us to give us an exclusive interview. This is Michael Veckstein, live from a bit cloudy Bethesda. How are you today?
I'm good, Justin. Thanks for having me on the show.
Alright, we'll begin with the general question. What are fossil fuels?
Yes, so fossil fuels are used to fuel our home's electricity, air conditioning, power factories, and power cars, as well as many other things. Oil, natural gas, and coals are fossil fuels. Natural gas and oil are both types of petroleum and are formed from the decay of dead plants and animals. Oil is a liquid, while natural gas is a gas. Over time, decaying dead plants and animals sink to the bottom of the ocean and other bodies of water. As time progresses, tons of sand and stone build on top of them, forming much pressure. The pressure forms petroleum pockets. Miners extract the petroleum deep into Earth's surface. If oil and natural gas are burned, it can create much electricity. Refined oil is also used in fossil fuels, and natural gas is also used to power most gas stoves. Coal is formed in a similar process. Rocks and dirt crush plants from long ago on Earth's surface to also create pressure. Coal is extracted from Earth through mines. Coal is commonly used today, so fossil fuels can power many objects and is a good energy resource.
So these fossil fuels seem like they're really good and efficient. What is the problem that everybody's talking about?
Fossil fuels are non-renewable resources, which means that they can run out. Besides this, fossil fuels are in increased demand. Fossil fuels are also used to create environmental damage when it is burnt as a fuel source. The combustion of fossil fuels releases carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. The burning of fossil fuels creates all types of pollution, but primarily air pollution. As the fuels burn, their vapor and smoke releases into the air, creating the pollution.
So where is this occurring?
The pollution caused by burning fossil fuels is happening almost everywhere, but mostly in largely populated places like Los Angeles, Baltimore, New Delhi, Dhaka, Tokyo, and Beijing.
To help us understand how bad fossil fuels and pollution are, let's take a look at this interesting story about fossil fuels.
This is Beijing, a city of much diversity and delicious food. A city of over 20 million people. The people that live here live a simple lifestyle. About 20% of the population works in factories that produce pollution. This pollution affects people in indescribable ways, both socially and physically. In the worst situations, some people are required to wear air masks that cover the mouth and nose, which prevent excessive inhalation of toxic gases in the air that are released by burning fossil fuels. The Chinese government has the goal of having each family own at least one car, which would use more fossil fuel than the Earth has to offer. With the crowded streets of Beijing, it is hard to tell whether there would be enough space for this. The Chinese government also is beginning to use alternative energy sources, primarily nuclear energy. Nuclear energy is a type of energy that is produced when two uranium molecules split, causing nuclear fission, and thus nuclear energy. It has many benefits, such as reduction of fossil fuels use and being renewable, but many claim that it actually harms the environment, as well as being unsafe. Whatever the case, the government of China is showing some slight concern for the excessive use of fossil fuels.
So Michael, is nuclear energy the only alternative resource?
No, not at all actually. There are plenty of other renewable resources, such as solar energy, which is energy collected from the sun through solar panels. Panels are made of the neutron, pure silicon, to create energy. The pure silicon combines with a positive charge and natural sunlight. So basically, solar energy is generated into electricity. Other alternative resources include wind energy, which involves collecting the wind, hydroelectric, which involves collecting water, and geothermal, which involves collecting heat from the ground.
So what are the pros and cons of each alternative resource?
The pros for solar energy are that it is not polluting, low maintenance, sustainable, available for use, and capable for providing energy for buildings and houses. However, solar energy has some problems. Solar energy is expensive, less functional on cloudy days, and not functional at night, and it doesn't produce much energy in contrast to its size. Wind energy uses turbines to collect the natural wind. The turbine is connected to the generator, which distributes energy to designed places, and the turbine moves. The pros of this energy are that it is also not polluting, energy is continuous, sustainable, low maintenance cost, and capable of generating electricity. The cons of this alternative energy are that it is dependent on local weather, extremely expensive, and it needs much space. Next is hydroelectric energy. Hydroelectric energy also uses a turbine propeller which is turned through the movement of water. The movement from the turbine, similar to wind energy, is sent directly through a generator, which generates and distributes energy. Hydroelectric energy resources should be built on reservoirs with a dam that is connected to a large river. Hoover Dam is a well-known hydroelectric site near Las Vegas. The advantage of using this energy are that it's non-polluting, sustainable, flood control, and a low cost after the initial cost. The disadvantages are that it is degraded water quality, blocks fish migration, very expensive to build initially, and damages the ecosystem. The last energy source I will discuss is geothermal energy. This is the harnessing of heat from the earth. Below the crust of the earth is a layer called the mantle, which continuously produces heat. Geothermal energy requires the drilling of holes to capture very hot steam from the crust, which drives the generators that produce electricity. The pros of geothermal energy is that it is non-polluting, reduces dependence on fossil fuels, is sustainable, energy is produced continuously, power stations are relatively small, and maintenance is cheap after the initial cost. The cons of this energy source are that it is potential contamination of groundwater, the startup cost is expensive, and the reservoir where geothermal energy is produced are limited.
So Michael is now going to take a question from a viewer. We have Sean from New York on the phone right now. What is your question, Sean?
Well, I've heard plenty of times about how the burning of fossil fuel use affects the environment, but I want to know, how does the fossil fuels affect us individually?
Great question. So when factories or any place that burns fossil fuels release the fossil fuels into the air becomes polluted. When you or me or anyone breathes this air, it can affect our health. Respiratory problems are an issue when inhaling the pollution, but there can also be heart and lung diseases. However, they are not too common, so don't be worried. I know that you have probably heard it many times, but climate conditions can be affected by fossil fuels. The increase of greenhouse gases and temperature are also partially caused by fossil fuels. Due to the rising of greenhouse gases, the polar ice caps are melting, causing sea levels to rise.
Thanks, Sean, for your great question. So, if some viewers are not fully committed or convinced to switch to alternative energy, what are some simple actions that can positively affect the environment?
Simple things like carpools, public transportation, fluorescent light bulbs, and turning the water off when not using it can help the environment significantly. Simple actions are all that is needed to help the environment and reduce fossil fuel emissions.
Thank you for spending your time with us.
My pleasure.
Next up, are teachers giving out too much homework? After the break, you'll find out. This is Channel 9 News.